Hi guys!
Hi guys, and welcome back to Couch Critics.
We're Couch Critics. I'm Lamia. This is my friend Ruby and
Hi,
co-host.
Yes.
And today we're gonna review Dune 2.
Two. Yes. Dune Part Two. It's by a Montreal director, Denis Villeneuve,
Mm-hmm.
with an incredible cast. And
Definitely an A-list
Yeah.
actors.
Yeah. And what is it about? Because I watched it, but still have trouble explaining
that's why I'm
all
looking
of
at
it.
you. I'm like, I hope she does the synopsis because I can't do it.
I can try.
Yeah.
So basically, it's about this guy who's been and his mom who have been expulsed from their actual region,
Mhm.
and they were trying to. I think his dad died in the first one, and they were trying to get
Yeah,
their
he
revenge.
died.
And they're trying to it's about different territories at wars, and I think it's between many different planets because
Yeah.
the word universe is used a lot. Yeah, it's a great movie, but I'm still having a hard time understanding why they were fighting. But yeah, is it an emperor or a king or Florence Pugh's dad?
She's a queen, from what I understood.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, it's
maybe
basically
a
fights
kingdom.
against
Yeah.
kingdoms, and there's the people from the desert. What are they called? They created a word that's not Arabs.
I
Thank you
can't
guys.
help you with this. I'm not the target audience for Dune, obviously, as you can see.
I haven't even watched the first one.
I watched the first one and I still don't get it.
Anyway, it's basically about wars between different groups, and there's this kind of messiah like Timothy, played by Timothée Chalamet, who has been trying to convince people to go with him to fight the kingdom, like the main kingdom. And yeah, it raised a lot of issues. Like, I loved at one point Zendaya, sorry, I'm naming the actors because I forgot the characters' names.
Yeah.
But at one time Zendaya said, you create stories like these about people who are gonna save you when to keep people weak. And I don't know, I felt like it was an interesting approach. We saw both sides, and yeah, that's the best I can do.
You've done a much better work than what I would have done, but if I can add up to that, I think Dune is about this guy who was somewhat of a king, and then
Yes.
war happens, he loses his father, he gets chased by rebels, I'll just call them rebels, the enemies, and then he finds himself with a new group of allies, and he tries to make them believe that he's this messiah, because that's they were waiting for a messiah in the first place, so it was a perfect timing for him. And yeah, at a certain point he gets lost in his own lies, because I think he starts to believe that he's actually a real messiah, and that he should lead these people, and he should be their leader and their king. And yeah, we're basically watching war unfold between two sides, and that's what Dune is about. And it's also about dunes, and a lot of dunes.
Yeah, a lot of dunes. I loved it. They're so pretty. Yeah. How do we start to talk about? Because I got out of the movie, and it was a Tuesday, but I was already having a bad week, and I just got out of the movie, and I was like, wow, that was a good break. I hadn't felt this way after a movie in a really long time, and even though I don't remember the story exactly, it's crazy to remember how it made you feel. I haven't watched the first one, but I've heard that in the first one the soundtrack was a bit too long and the whole movie was long. But I didn't get that in this one, or maybe it's just my perspective of it, but I felt like it was a lot of the people who watched the first and the second one said that this one was way better. So there's that. Can we talk about the cast?
Yeah.
The cast. Oh my god. Because there's Timothy and Zendaya at first, and there's even Timothy's mom, who I suppose is a very...
Oh, she was?
No, not
Okay,
his mom.
his mom,
his mom
okay.
in the movie.
The actress. Okay.
Yeah. I suppose she's also I suppose she's also acclaimed actress. But every time like the movie would go
Mhm.
further, new actors would show up and the cast would keep getting better and better. I was waiting for Austin Butler to show up, and he
Okay.
showed up and he was like completely different from Austin Butler. Like the
Totally.
Austin Butler that we
That we
know,
knew.
that we've seen in
Mhm.
different movies. And I love that. I think that this is what acting is about. Like having the chance to play these different roles. There's also uh, Austin Butler's uncle who was in Mamma Mia. Like this guy, yeah,
The
the
old guy who
yeah, the
gets
old
killed.
guy.
Sorry, spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
spoiler
Yeah.
alert, he gets killed. That he was in Mamma Mia. He was one of the
Okay.
dads, but it's just like in this movie, he had so
He's
much
the one, by the
makeup.
way, who killed Timothy's dad in
Oh,
Dune. Yeah.
okay. See, but yeah, I love that actor, and he was also in Thor.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just so nice to see these ranges for all of these actors. There was also Charlotte Berry. I hope I'm not like ruining her name, but her name first name is Charlotte, and she was in a previous movie called Street Dance about dancing, and Léa Seydoux from James Bond.
Oh yeah, Leia Sidhu.
Yeah, it's just anyway, so many great actors. Not a lot of ethnic minority represented, but there was like
Not any
I mean there
representations
was French and
for
English.
us.
Yeah, not for us, not for like people
I
anyway.
mean, the I guess the background actors were supposed to be
Yeah, but
the
that's not
representation,
enough.
but I'm still waiting for the day that we see an equal
Yeah,
representation, especially
especially
in a movie like Dune.
yes, exactly.
Come on. Who was your favorite? What was your favorite performance and least favorite performance in Dune?
Ooh, I really liked Florence Pugh
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like everybody, even Timothée Chalamet who was playing the lead,
Yeah.
he wasn't too over the top with his acting, and I feel like everybody had this kind of even I don't know, maybe that's just my perspective of it, but yeah, I love Florence Pugh because she was very calm and she was very collected, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that representation of her. But I also love Zendaya's because she was this rebel, but
Okay.
yeah, and also I love the fact that they let her natural hair like be, and they just like I don't know, her character just all fit well together.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Favorite character?
Um, okay, the performances that I liked were not the ones that I expected to like.
Okay.
My favorite one was Austin Butler's performance, and I did not expect to like him in this movie because to me, after what I saw in Elvis, I was like, how could he beat such an amazing performance? There's no way that he could do anything that's remotely as good as this, and I don't see why he would even act after this. Like he should just retire. But he looked like he was having so much fun playing the villain. He took it to an extreme with the voice, the mimics, but it worked. Everything was very thought of, very meticulously chosen, and yeah, he was completely believable. At first, I could still hear like glimpses of his voice, like his
Yes.
real voice, and I could still see him like behind that makeup. But you quickly forget that it's Austin Butler,
Yeah.
and you start really seeing him as this villain. Okay, whereas I also liked the mother, Timothée Chalamet's mother. She was my favorite in the first Dune movie, and she was one of my favorites in the second one. She has this very dark aura, and like there are so many beautiful shots of just her looking at the camera,
Yes.
and it's so menacing and intimidating, and you're just scared of her. She's intimidating. Um, I liked all the performances overall, but I was just like kind of overseeing Timothy on screen, and um, I'll get to Zendaya later, but I was tired of seeing Timothy at a certain point on
Okay.
screen, and Florence Pugh too. And it's not because they were doing anything wrong. They're great actors, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this movie. But I just think that and this is something that I studied in marketing actually. I just think that for actors, there is like this kind of saturations, and for some actors, we see them everywhere, and therefore, like, we don't want to see them anymore. Like when I see Florence Pugh and Timothy Chalamet, and he's asking her to marry him again in Dune. The first thing that goes into my mind is, are they getting married again? Didn't they get married in Little Women?
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, they were together in that
So
movie.
I'm like, out of all the brilliant Hollywood actors. Like, I'm sure Timothy is amazing. Florence Pugh is one of my favorite actresses, but I just think it's high time that we just start giving other actors a chance. I feel like, especially for Florence Pugh, I feel like I could already expect what she's gonna do because she's always like doing these type of characters. They're very um they're fighting an inner like struggle, and they have all these dark emotions and stuff, and she has done that in so many movies and it was amazing. But I don't want to see it again. I want to see new faces and new actors. I loved Zendaya, but I couldn't believe the chemistry between her and Timothy. I felt like they were just like trying very hard to not burst into laughter whenever they had to do a romantic scene, and like there was zero chemistry like whenever they had to do any kissing scene or anything where they had like a little bit of intimacy. It was just like so forced. If it's like when you remove the sound and you just look stare at it, you're gonna start like asking yourself like what's going on, just like what's happening.
I did not notice that. But to go back on your point about the actors,
Yeah.
I agree and disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because I feel like for these actors, especially that they're still very young, I
Mm.
mean, I think they've worked really hard to get to this point and be able to book movies as big as Dune. So, I mean, it's a good thing that, I mean, I think that this is like the final, not the final result. I don't mean that they're not going to be in more movies, but that's like the peak of what you would want to like the movie I suppose people want to be in because it's such a great movie and so many big actors are in it. I agree because it's funny. I remembered that Margaret Robbie recently said that she wants to stop acting for a while
Mm.
because she's afraid that people are going to get bored of her. And we've seen that with many different actors.
Totally.
And it's true, sometimes you need a break to be able to leave certain characters behind and get a new one and let people forget what kind of character you played or
Mm.
be able to perceive you as a new character. So I do agree with that, but
No,
I still think it's a bit early for Timothée and Florence Pugh and Zendaya
no, I'm
too.
not saying that they should retire, but I totally agree with you. Like, of course, if you get a project like Dune, you're not gonna say no. Like, if I was them, I wouldn't care about what anyone thought, and I would say yes, even like if it's Madame Web and like Marvel is like, you have to do it, I'll do it and promote it with the biggest smile on. But what I'm saying is that maybe at a certain time it could become harmful. Because to me, okay, I was more excited to see Anne Taylor Joy, the Timothée
Yes,
Chalamet's sister, the
I did not
baby,
expect to see her.
than anyone else, and
Yeah.
she's doing a lot of stuff. But it's like these very different projects that has nothing to do with each other, very different characters, and you don't see her. She doesn't have so many projects coming on like every year. She has these very specific projects each year. And yeah, it's like I could give a lot of examples. Like let's take Paul Mescal for example. He's great. I'll watch anything that he does, but I don't want to see him in an indie movie again.
Because it's hard to see a different like it's he does such a really good like a really good job like
Yeah.
playing the character and but his roles are very similar even
Yeah.
though like he delivers a very different performance every time and that's great. But
It's like I'm not trying to criticize the actors. Like it's as the audience who
yeah,
watches them. Like it's just mon ressenti. Like I just was bored at a certain time. I saw Timmy in Wonka. I saw him last year. I'm pretty sure I saw him last year. And Bones and all.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's a you don't want to watch it. It's a horror movie.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm not watching it.
yeah, and I I don't know. I want to see someone else. And like it's the same thing for Austin Butler. He did Elvis. What did he do before that? He had like these small roles. You
He
don't
was on
see him
Disney.
everywhere. He
Yeah.
was on Broadway at a certain
Oh
point.
yeah.
So yeah, of course they're gonna lose projects, but we're gonna see them differently as an audience.
Yeah. See, I think especially, you know, also as like in fields such as acting, there's
Mhm.
so many people who want to get into it and there's
Yeah.
so little opportunities. So it's nice to, in fact, like give opportunities to newer faces. But honestly, if I was a new actress, like if I was just getting into the industry,
Yeah,
I would be scared of taking like part in like
of course.
being in a movie such as Dune.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's worth a
that's
shot.
what
Yeah,
you're working
yeah,
towards.
true,
Yeah,
true.
and you're not getting a chance because big actors who had a lot of chances are taking these kind of spots.
Hmm, interesting. No, it is.
Yeah, so that was our rant about the acting parts. What
And
did
the
you think of
cast.
the cinematography?
Oh, it was so good. I was really trying hard to find like an error. But yeah, no, I loved it. I loved the costume. I loved the whole sceneries.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was great. What about you?
I loved the sets,
Hmm.
and I just kept asking myself, how did they survive that shoot? Because Ruby knows, last summer I went to the Sahara Desert in Morocco, and it was a struggle to walk in that desert, so let alone film for like multiple weeks, days, months, and the heat, I guess, and like because just walking is such a challenge. But also, I like watching Dune even without a synopsis. I would still have watched it because the images were so beautiful, and just watching Zendaya and Timothée uh, looking at the dunes was so mesmerizing because as someone who was in the Sahara, I felt the same thing when I was there. Like you feel so small and so um, insignificant
Yes.
because everything around you is so big and magnificent and beyond beautiful that you can't help but feel small. And I do get why a lot of books are written about dunes and why movies like Dunes exist even without a story. It's an amazing movie. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do, do you think that the experience of watching the movie was similar to being there, or being there was way heightened, like way better of an experience? Like,
uh it's nothing compares to being there in
yeah.
person. And when I got there, I did not expect to be as mesmerized when I got to the Sahara, although I've already read The Alchemist, who is all about how great the Sahara is. But when I got there, as soon as I saw that view of the dunes, like this infinite view, this menacing view, like I just thought to myself that this is okay, this is dark. This is such a dark thought, but I was like, okay, this is the kind of this I will remember this image on my deathbed because
Yeah.
it is one of the most beautiful images that I've registered in my brain. And I had to sit down with my friend and we just like looked at the dunes for hours until nighttime, and we woke up again in the morning, and it was such a struggle to walk. But I couldn't get over how grateful I was to just like have the the privilege to just see
Experience that.
something as
Yeah.
beautiful as that. And I do feel like the movie gives such a beautiful representation of what it's like to be in the desert, and it does talk about a lot of it romanticizes that whole experience, and it forces you to see the desert as a person, a whole person. When you have Timothée Chalamet's friend who tells him, the desert will challenge you. You need to earn its respect. I get that. It truly will. And if you don't respect it, it will eat you alive.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Makes me
But you
wanna.
should go to the desert
Yeah.
if you ever get a chance to. It is something that I feel everyone should see at least once in their life. Yeah. Go with a tour guide though. You don't want to get lost
Oh.
there.
Yes. Do people actually go alone into the
I don't
deserts?
think so. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
know where you're going. I went with an agency, and yeah, I think that it's better to have a camel, a lot of water, and a tour guide.
Three essentials to go
The
to the
essential.
desert.
How was your cinematic experience?
Really good.
Was
I
your
loved it. I
movie
didn't.
theater packed?
Oh, Not really, but it is a cinema that's mainly empty, the movie theater I go to, and there
Yeah.
was actual people there this time, but it was kind of busy for what it usually is, and there was a line. I never waited in line before in that theater to buy a ticket.
Mhm.
So, yeah, no, there was a lot of people, can like relatively, but yes. What about you?
I tried the Ultra AVX. My friend got tickets, and I didn't even know that it existed. But basically, the screen expands on the wall, like all the walls around you, and so you have to look on your sides to see the ends of the screen. And it's so cool because, like the way that I told you earlier, it's like being on a spaceship that's taken you to do to Dune.
That's
You
incredible.
feel very immersed into the movie, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you're going to watch Dune. It's a long movie and it's worth the price.
Yes. See, this is why I asked you if it's the same as going to the desert, because I wonder if one day with virtual reality and all of the new technologies,
Mm,
if watching a movie will be enough instead of actually living the experience. In my opinion, I don't think it ever will be, nothing will ever compare to living something, but it's so funny to see technology moving forward in this
yeah.
direction. And yeah,
What was your favorite scene?
my favorite scene. Wow. Let me try to remember because I got out of the movie and it felt as if I blacked out. Honestly, there was so much
Same.
happening. Um, ooh, after the fight scene between Timothy and Austin,
Hmm.
the scene where he tells the king that he would marry his daughter, and just like the whole conflict that happened between Zendaya and Florence and
Yeah.
like Timothy, I just loved that. And I loved how you see the emotions in that scene because Zendaya tried all along to seem as if she's not gonna fall in love with
Hmm.
Timothy and everything, and then she does, and then Florence, the way she agrees to Tim is by saying, "I'm sorry, I'm using their actual names. I completely forgot
Same.
their character names, but that's how good the movie was, literally.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Florence did it for the for the responsibility out of out of duty. And it's so funny because I feel like this scene really showed the three different like women figure in the movie. Like we have the mother, we have Zendaya, and then we
Hmm.
have Florence, and each one of them represented something. We had wisdom, I
Yeah.
think, Florence, and then we had the mother who was, I'm pretty sure she, like, we could describe her in many ways, but in
Hmm.
my opinion she was very manipulative and she was like
Yeah.
this like controlling character. Whether it was in a good or in a bad way, I'm not gonna get into it. And then we have Zendaya, who's this basically represents this resilience, and like also she's a rep like resilience and resistance because she was against so many things. And there was also a scene where she kept telling them like, no, he's not like the
Yeah.
Messiah. And I loved that about her because she was really like, she was the counter argument in the
Hmm.
movie, and I like that. So yeah, what about you? Favorite scene?
I love the scene that you referred to at first, the scene where he asked Florence to marry him. I just thought that it was such a nice comedic scene, and I
Yeah.
couldn't stop laughing. I'm sorry, I couldn't take that movie seriously at a certain time because, like, from the way that I see it, Timothée went to Zendaya. He told he told her
I
that
will
he
always love you.
would always love her until the day that he dies. 5 seconds later, right in front of her eyes, he asks Florence to marry him. And I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Also, my my favorite serious scene that I actually really liked was the Austin Butler fight scene, and all of his introduction into the movie. I felt like it was scary, and I loved that. And he just seemed like he was having so much fun. Like I feel like as an actor, getting to do all of that makeup and all of
Yes.
those changes is exhilarating.
Yeah.
And we could see that through his acting. He was just
He was in character.
having a blast.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
believed who he was. That's incredible.
Mm.
I loved the fight scene because I remember. I don't remember there being any music. I felt
Yeah,
like it was a very silent scene, and the moves were very, like the angles, at some point we would see their shadows, and I think it was very nice because I feel like the music would have ridiculized the scene. It
the
would have
scene,
made
yeah.
it more dramatic, and but it was already dramatic, so it would have been like adding too much. And the fact that it was silent,
Mhm.
it just was even more meaningful. So yeah.
Have you ever watched any Denis Villeneuve movies before, or is this like your
Not that
introduction
I'm
to
aware of.
his movies?
What other like popular movie does he
Well,
have?
I found out yesterday that he did Incendie, which is a very famous Quebecois play. I don't know. I think there is a movie too, because it's like super famous here. Like
Okay,
in every acting class that I went, almost every acting class that I went to, they mentioned it at least
okay.
once. But yeah, we have to watch it. It's good, and it has a lot of representation. I think the lead is North African, and yeah, we should watch it.
Let's go. Yes.
um, yeah, Dune.
Have you watched any of his movies?
No,
Okay,
no.
then that's gonna be our next chunk.
Mhm.
And Denis Villeneuve movies or Grey's Anatomy?
Grey's Anatomy, of course.
There's not enough
I'm
time.
trying to get Ruby to watch Grey's Anatomy.
I'll get into it at
Yeah,
some point.
tonight after this podcast. So this is all I have to say for Dune. It was very entertaining. To me, this is what an entertaining movie should be like. When I say that you could have movies that don't like hunt you, but that you still enjoy. I definitely mean movies like Dune.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not the kind of movie that I thought of when I left the movie. I'm not gonna think about it again. I'm not gonna rewatch it. But I don't think, to be honest, that I'm the target audience for Dune, because I don't typically like these kind of movies, but I did enjoy watching it. So
Yeah. I agree with you. I would rewatch it though. I
okay.
think I would watch it again. But yeah, I agree. It's a good entertainment movie,
Hmm.
but it's that's what entertainment movies should
Hmm.
be. Yeah, I think that sums it up for our review of Dune Part Two. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't,
Go watch it and
yeah,
form your own opinion.
and tell us what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys next week.